lead editor David Burdett.
So today some stuff happened from PlayStation that is a bit inexcusable. We talked about it in our review of Gran Turismo 7, about how the microtransactions, they felt just a little bit kind of gross, a little bit higher. Some of the other publications have talked about them, but admittedly, and I can get the defense of, you can earn credits. It is going to take some time, so paying for microtransactions, it's more of a, hey, you don't want to mess with the grind, you pay for it. Understandable. However, when you suddenly go into the game and patch something to where you are dropping the amount of earnable credits on the races that people are specifically grinding, which they have all that data because it's an online required game. That's where it gets real shady. And especially with the game being offline. I don't know if it's still offline, but it's been offline for a bit, where they've been trying to fix something. So people can't even play the game they spent $70 or more on right now. So as good as Gran Turismo 7 is, it's just wrong. There's no other way to frame that. When you are actively taking down the rewards for races people are grinding, I get it. They did a couple other races where they raised it, but still,
that's jacked up.
You wait till after the review period's done, and then you start pushing things up.
That's awful. Because here's the thing. Here's what I imagine they were actually thinking. Like, they're not actually trying to screw the players over. That's the consequence. But what they're probably thinking is, oh, snap. These rates aren't what we intended.
Yep.
Too late, though. This is not the play. You don't take away from the players. You figure something else out. But that wasn't the play. Wow, that's terrible. Editor Noah Ansaldua.
Destiny 2, the seasonal story right now, it's even better than some of the Witch Queen side. The story itself is really good. I don't want to spoil anything because I don't know if you've done it, Anthony, but there is some really good stuff with Saladin and Crow that's next level good. Just implying a lot of stuff. I'm excited for what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, I've been interested in how that relationship evolves. Last week we had, I guess, a softer side of Saladin trying to, be a little more understanding of Crow and his sympathies. But I imagine this week something else happened. I have not been able to play it yet. I've been playing Wonderlands. So that's been taking up my time, but I will get to it. I will get to it at some point. I at least want to do that if I can't, do the entire seasonal stuff. My name is Anthony Shelton, content creator for YouTube and writer, and I have no interest in Harry Potter. That's why we're not going to talk about it today. But apparently it's coming to Switch. The little Hogwarts Legacy thing, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. And I think that's a smart move because somewhere inside of me, I believe that Nintendo fans are also Harry Potter fans. I don't have any proof, but something about the feverish nature of Nintendo fans tends to make me lean towards the idea that they are probably Harry Potter fans as well. So, I don't know. I think it's a good play.
It's a great play. And the game looks actually pretty darn good. I'm not interested in it because I'm just not into Harry Potter, but anyone who was interested in it, your hype level shot up.
Yeah, I'm a Harry Potter fan. And as much as J.K. Rowling tries to make me not one every day, she tests me. But Harry Potter, just the memories of it are so good. And this looks like it pulls on so many of the best memories I have in that franchise. So I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Listen, if not a lot of developers decide to put their games on Switch. So this is a calculated move. Understanding this audience probably wants Harry Potter as well. So they're engaging in extra development in order to get this done. So I imagine Nintendo fans will be happy. I haven't been on the Twitters to see the reactions, but I imagine they will be happy. All right, let us get into our icebreaker. So you win a trip to the vacation spot of your dreams, all expenses paid. David, where are you going?
This one's a tough one. And it's mainly because there's a lot of places I would like to visit. But I think the vacation spot that I would love to hit, I would like to go on, and this is kind of cheating because I'm kind of hitting a couple places, but kind of go on a Europe like kind of stretch run. One of those 9-day where you go through and you get to see like these different, like I'd love to see Rome, see the Colosseum. That's a dream of mine. See the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Just seeing a lot of different sites and historical places. When I went to college, I actually was intending to be a history teacher at one point. So love learning about history, love seeing historical places. So for me, that would be it. If there were any limit in finances, a cruise is always the best because it's all inclusive. You can eat 4 meals a day. On Carnival, they've got ice cream 24/7. Man, that's the best vacation I've been on. The one I want to go on, though, would be an all-inclusive run around in Europe and get to visit some historical sites.
Noah, all expenses paid. Where are you going?
I think I'm going to Colorado Springs. I went there when I was young, and I loved like Garden of the Gods. I loved like hiking over there, and going back with my girlfriend. She's like insane at hiking. Like she just leaves me behind, and I'm like, please wait, please hold on. I need to like follow your pathing specifically so I don't like fall down and die. Like, please. So yeah.
She is the Elden Lord of hiking.
She is. So that would be awesome. Going to like Colorado Springs, and then maybe even going to like Estes Park, and going to see some of the lakes they have there. I really remember those trips really fondly. That'd be dope.
Awesome. I am going to Las Vegas. No, just playing. I'm not going to Las Vegas. I would go back to Japan. That's where I would go. I have some unfinished business in Japan. When my wife and I we went on a 11-day trip. It was, cover. I think the only thing that wasn't covered was breakfast or whatever, but we were in like a big travel group. So that's the way we did it. Unfortunately, though, our flight from China to Japan, we were layover in China. It was late, and so we missed a whole day of Tokyo. So we only got 2 out of our 3 days for Tokyo. So I got unfinished business in Japan. And I still want to see more of Kyoto. I want to see more of Osaka. And I would like to just see more of Japan as a whole. I felt like there was so much to see. And it's not even just because like video games, Japan, like all that. Like I went there and it was like, no, this is genuinely like sweet place. Like I want to spend more time here and learn more about the culture and absorb more of it. It's just really cool. So if I had all my expenses paid, oh, absolutely. Like that is where I am going. I don't know how long, but long enough to where I can leave satisfied, having explored all, at least Kyoto, Tokyo, and Osaka. That's what I would do. All right, let's get into our trending news segment. There seems to be trouble at the initiative. Perfect Dark seems to be in trouble. There was an investigation by VGC where they have looked at 34 and more different profiles on LinkedIn of people who used to work at the initiative, working on the Perfect Dark reboot. 34 developers are no longer working there, and it seems to be based on the credits that are available on LinkedIn that show how many people are working at the initiative. There are less than 50, which is really problematic for a game that is advertised, or for a developer that is advertised as a quadruple A developer. Usually we're used to triple A. The initiative, to my knowledge, is the first quadruple A developer. So you have less than 50 people in a quadruple A studio, where triple A games typically have hundreds of developers. That sounds like a problem. A lot of staff left because of management. Staff figured it was going to be a bottom-up type of culture, but it ended up being a top-down kind of culture, which seemed to stifle the creativity of many of the people, and so they didn't want to deal with that. And so many senior and high-level developers there have left to do other gigs. Now, I know some people are questioning the investigativeness of this report because it's just LinkedIn sleuthing, but this is the modern day of job searching. This is how people network. This is how people get hired. This is how people view other people's experience. This is the way it's done now. It's been this way for a very long time. People look on the internet. That's how it goes. And so people update their profiles. And so I think there's something to this. Now we can talk about the breadth. We can debate the breadth and how deep it is. But there's something to this because people have updated their profiles and they are no longer listing the initiative as the developer that they are working for. That's significant. And so even if you might argue how deep it goes, there's something to this and it doesn't look good. Noah, I'm going to start with you. How much trouble is Perfect Dark in?
I think it's in a lot, like especially early development, which this game is in, and you don't have a lot of people working on it. If they have around 30 employees or around 50 employees there and 34 have gone in the past however long it's been, then like I don't know how they're doing the groundwork, how they're laying the groundwork for this game. I know that they've got Crystal Dynamics is stepping in to help them with this game. At this point, maybe Crystal Dynamics is just the studio that's leading the charge on this game.
Right? Right.
I don't know how they can't be. And, I hope that bodes well for them. Crystal Dynamics has some bangers under their belts. They also have some flops. And this is kind of like I don't know. I'm not too familiar with their background, but first-person shooters from Crystal Dynamics they don't seem to like click really well in my head, at least. I don't make that connection. So hopefully this is the right studio to help the initiative. And but I don't see this ending very well. But there have been like success stories that started out really badly in the gaming industry. So I hope this turns out well, but I'm not all that hopeful. Also, I have in my notes here, am I right with 4 A's? That doesn't translate well, but I wanted to make that joke. Yeah.
David?
Well, it looks worse for the initiative than it does for Perfect Dark, because Perfect Dark is going to come out eventually. Perfect Dark is being worked on. You've got that. It's hard to call Crystal Dynamics a secondary support studio. They're a big studio. They know what they're doing. This is Square's way of getting paid while Crystal's still figuring out, I guess, whatever their next project is, or if they've even got a next project from Square. So at this point, I think you're right, Noah. I think it's become Crystal's game, because when you lose almost half of a studio to departures like this, especially like you said, Anthony, where some teams have hundreds that are working on games, about 44 just isn't enough of a number to get something that's supposed to be high profile. That's fine if you're working on something small, but not high profile.
Yeah. I want to make sure that people understand we don't know how many developers are left.
And I'm guessing
it's just less than 50.
Yeah.
And we don't know how many they had to start. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah. If there's about 34 that left and about 80 that was supposedly there, then it's in the 40s is the rumor, obviously. So in any case, we know something for a fact. Crystal Dynamics wasn't brought in because the initiative was doing this great job and had a bunch of people to work. And that is a big problem right now in the industry, is nobody has enough employees to do anything. There's a reason that Sony dropped an entire additional third of money when they bought Bungie. You don't just drop $1.2 million, $2 billion just for nothing. They want to keep these people. So this is a really big issue. One of the issues that I'm very interested in is the thought that we've talked about it before. Microsoft went from like 7 studios to the 30s in a very short, in a very, very short amount of time. Obviously, Activision Blizzard's not done, so we'll have to wait kind of to see. That's not really affecting this. Is there a point where you're spread too thin at Xbox upper management? Not necessarily the studios specifically, but Xbox upper management, where there's not enough. The same thing of like somebody could be like stifling creativity. You've got upper management who's sitting there and just doesn't have the time to go and look at your project because they're trying to fix this project, or they're trying to work with this project, or they're trying to do this thing. Does it ever get to a point where it's not just that we don't have enough people in the studio, we don't have enough people at Xbox to make sure things are running smoothly? So are they expanding really fast, but they don't have the people in-house to actually take? That's why teams like Insomniac are blasting through games. They have multiple teams, but they've got incredible leadership in the Insomniac offices. They actually, one of the people from the initiative went back to Insomniac. I forget, Drew, I can't remember what his last name is. Really good guy. Went back to Insomniac. So I feel like we're hearing a lot of stuff about disconnects with leadership. It's every bit that you could have creativity stifled because you're not getting any information from the very top to know where to go with what you're working on. So it's a problem with upper management of you need to know how to manage your people to keep working with their creativity and not just waiting on the guy at Xbox to tell you, oh, this is the direction we need to go. So it could be an issue a bunch of different places, but in any case, it does lie with management. You can't let a studio get to a point where everybody's running away because of issues with management or issues with creativity. As that just means that there's not good managing practices, and I think we all know that is an issue with what we watched out of Halo. Halo was not in a good spot, and it was a management issue. So they actually had to bring back somebody from the past just to get the game back in order.
Yeah, it is interesting. I feel like,
and this is not me bashing Xbox. Bashing them. It's just looking at this is what's going on.
No, we criticize where it needs to be criticized. But yeah, I feel like the problem with Microsoft, maybe not the problem, but to your point, they are expanding really fast. But I also wonder how much, particularly with the acquisition of ZeniMax, with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King, like how much are they going to leave them alone because they already do what they do, right? They already got that management structure there. So whatever Activision Blizzard King is doing outside of all the Bobby Kotick stuff, like the machine is running, right? Yep. They've been producing Call of Duty year after year after year. Like this is 2023 is going to be the only time it's possibly delayed if that report ends up being true. Overwatch is still going. It's been slowed down because of all the Activision Blizzard stuff with Bobby Kotick, but this stuff is going. So Microsoft doesn't really need to step in and be like, all right, like you're part of our team now, so this is how things go now. Like they can leave that machine running the way it is.
Yeah.
It depends on whether, if they want to change Call of Duty from a yearly to maybe, bi-yearly, tri-yearly, whatever the case may be. That's when Microsoft needs to step in and go, okay, this is the vision, this is the plan. Let's adjust. But if they're going to leave things the way they are, particularly with all of what, all of ZeniMax and Bethesda and all that, they could keep going. The problem is Microsoft hasn't done a good job even before these acquisitions of managing the studios that they already had, because they didn't have a lot to begin with.
Yeah.
And with them acquiring all that, it's not like putting more on your plate and you got to handle all these plates. Like, you still need to get your house in order, and they have not quite gotten that done. I don't know if it's because Microsoft is trying to let these studios do what they do and not get in the way too much so that they can produce what they need to produce. But unfortunately, when you have bad management, and not saying those people can't create good games, but they don't seem to be able to manage the creation of those games, then there's a problem, and Microsoft does need to step in and do whatever they need to do. In the case of the initiative, they have allowed the initiative to bring in Crystal Dynamics, which is a familiar structure to the heads who aren't even there anymore. So it's still going to be a top-down type of structure at the initiative with Crystal Dynamics, because that's the way Crystal Dynamics works.
Yep.
And it's worked for them up until the Avengers, pretty much. Tomb Raider, the trilogy, the reboot, I thought was very good. This seems to be in line with more of what what the initiative wants with Perfect Dark. So I got hope that it's good, but it is shaky. What I will say last about this is, when Crystal Dynamics was brought on, I didn't see it as too big of an issue, because it's not uncommon for AAA studios to bring in other studios to help. They are huge games with huge budgets, and they need a lot of people to work on these games. I forget which Assassin's Creed it was. I think it was Assassin's Creed 3. And after I beat the game, I remember seeing, I believe, 5 or 6 Ubisoft studios working on one Assassin's Creed game, which at that time, I think it was either biannual or yearly for Assassin's Creed. I think it may have been yearly after Assassin's Creed 3. But either way, like 6 studios, 5 or 6 studios for one game. You have a quadruple A studio, whatever that means. You're gonna need to bring in some help. Like, that's just the reality. It doesn't matter how big the initiative is. If the initiative was 250 people, they would still need to bring in somebody, because the scope of the game that Microsoft wants with Perfect Dark seems to be advertised as quadruple A. If AAA needs 200 plus to make a game and 6 studios, then yeah, you're probably gonna need more than that with a quadruple A game. Again, whatever that means. So I wasn't tripping over the fact that the initiative brought in Crystal Dynamics. But now we see, yeah, it's more than just they needed help. They needed somebody to take over while the initiative gets more staff back, which that's a terrible place to be in.
Well, they were apparently already having trouble getting new staff at the initiative. So this is an even farther stretching problem than just getting back staff. Like, this is, man, they needed to grow past whatever amount of employees they had. This is just making that tougher.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on from a game that's probably going to crash when it comes out to a game that is doing pretty well. Tunic. Tunic has come out. Off of the heels, mind you, I want to mention Tunic is a very tough game. Off of the heels of Elden Ring, which has sold 12 million copies and is also a hard game. But Tunic, being an indie game, also day one on Xbox Game Pass, a lot of people are playing it, and a lot of people are liking it. My question to you, David, to start this off, can Tunic actually compete with Elden Ring and actually maintain and keep a large mainstream audience?
It'll find an audience, but I mean, it's really hard to compete with 12 million copies sold. There's no way to compete in the sense of compete.
Right.
If we're talking just numbers, it's not going to.
Yeah.
However, Microsoft had to have gone at this with a bag, because they actually said it wasn't coming to Game Pass. Finji themselves said it was not coming to Game Pass.
Yeah.
And we didn't know until the announcement on the day it released that it was coming to Game Pass. I was already planning on buying it. And
Yeah, me too.
what do you know? On Game Pass. So I've got it installed now, need to play it a little bit. But, I mean, it's already a humongous success. It's got great reviews. The game seems to be, it's on Game Pass, so you know it's going to get a lot of attention. It's going to get a lot of attention from Steam. People are probably going to be buying the heck out of it. And this is a game that was developed by one person. One guy did this game.
Easy
and
to
the game,
forget that.
the demo I played was incredible. I can't wait to play the regular game itself. It brings me back to playing Death's Door last year. Death's Door is one of my favorite games that I played last year. It was incredible. It was fun. I ended up having to pass on reviewing Tunic because I just had so many other random things going on. Just did not have the time to put into it. But we gave it 100 out of 100. So it's pretty darn good. And apparently it keeps getting better the more you play it. So can it compete? Not necessarily. But is it going to be in the indie space what Elden Ring is right now in the bigger AAA space? Heck yeah.
I think it actually might compete with Elden Ring. Not by numbers.
Oh yeah, can.
But by mainstream exposure. Elden Ring has, I think, crossed into the mainstream at this point.
By far.
More than Demon Souls and Dark Souls and Bloodborne have. And people are digging it. People are digging it.
Nobody expected it.
Yeah. I'm not even sure From Software developed it or
they expected
that.
4 million. That was their month. That was their month.
Yeah.
They made 12 in 2 weeks.
Like the highest expectation Miyazaki had was that people would finish the game compared to other Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Like that was the expectation. People
insane.
So it's gone big. We can say that. I think because of Elden Ring and the success it has, like people realize, oh, I kind of like these tough kind of games, these open world tough kind of games. You bring in a game that is not open world, but it reminds you of Zelda. And it's that tough kind of game. People are like, oh, okay, another one? Oh, and it's Zelda-like? Okay, I kind of like that. All right. So I think it does have the ability to compete with Elden Ring. And when I say compete, I'm not necessarily like versus, but in the sense of like, can it keep up right now in the space where Elden Ring is taking up so much? It is sucking everything else out. Horizon Forbidden West is a great game. Doesn't matter. Elden Ring's here. Tunic comes out. Will Elden Ring still suck up the space? I'm not entirely sure. I think Tunic is just partly because it's indie, so it's going to be like a surprising breakout type of thing, like Rocket League was when it came out, like Fall Guys was. I think it has that potential. Noah?
Yeah, so if we're talking about like maybe like the share of the discourse in terms of like competing, I feel like Tunic might. I feel like Elden Ring has such a long like duration of how long you can talk about that. Like how long you can talk about, oh, did you see this in Elden Ring? It's like in this tucked away corner of the map. And maybe I don't really know the scale of Tunic in terms of like how long it'll take people to beat, how long it'll take people to find out secrets and things like that. But I think part of Elden Ring is just like some of the emergent gameplay that can happen just by nature of it being a FromSoft game and it being an open world game where like you'll just be going and like being on your horse and then like 7 enemies will ambush you and you'll keep running and more people will keep following you. And I feel like that's like a big part of like the Elden Ring discourse and why it's so big on people's minds and why like videos on Twitter or TikTok will draw people in. Like my girlfriend is like, I want to play Elden Ring, and I'm like, really? You've never played a FromSoft game? And she's like, yeah, I think I want to play it. I've seen so much of it on TikTok. And I don't know if Tunic will do that. Like, I think Tunic's art style, first of all, is beautiful. It's amazing.
That it is.
And I think that will draw a lot of people in. But I think a big part of Elden Ring was the insane amount of marketing put behind it for like years to get it out there. I was at a bar on Friday after the game released, and like it was on like ESPN or something, and like everyone was like basically dancing and like drinking, and then there's like a huge Elden Ring commercial, and it was like projected onto the wall, and I was like, Elden Ring, and then everyone was like went crazy, and it was like an insane moment, and I was like, wait, that's crazy, like that's wild to me.
Yeah, that is wild.
Because like there was a random dude at the bar, and he like came up to us, and I don't know, we talked a little bit to him because he was like ordering a drink, and then eventually he was like, hey, this might be a weird question, but do y'all play Elden Ring? And we were like, yeah.
Do you Elden Ring?
Yeah. So I don't know. In terms of that, I would be very surprised if Tunic got to that level of like, relevancy, and in terms of like the real world where people can just be like, hey, you look like you play Tunic. I don't know.
Because that does sound kind of silly.
Yeah. But Elden Ring sounds kind of silly. Like if you say, do you play Elden Ring? I don't know. I will say that like the first thing I thought of when I was looking at like Tunic footage is that, yeah, this looks like Death's Door, but like colorful and happy instead of drab and not. Yeah. Yeah, I love this art style. I think it has a lot of depth, but I'm not sure if it's like immediately apparent to people how big or deep this game can get. And I feel like that might also be an issue. Like when I first heard of Tunic, and like I've kind of like heard about it and like been on the sidelines looking at it, I didn't really know it was supposed to be like a kind of a difficult experience. So I don't know. I like it's already not as big in my mind as Elden Ring was before it came out. So I don't know. I feel like maybe it sets the stage for the sophomore effort of this developer to be even bigger. Especially if the buzz around this gets huge, but I'm not sure that it will be able to compete with Elden Ring.
David Flynn reviewed it, gave it 100, like David Burdett just mentioned. And one of the things he wrote was it's a collaborative game in the sense of you're going to have to talk to people in order to like figure things out. Like it's a online community, like get together, like figure it out. Almost, Noah, you'll understand, kind of like Destiny, where there's this puzzle and it's like, man, I genuinely cannot figure out this puzzle. Like, and then you go to a Discord, you go online, Reddit, whatever you go to, and you got other people. Oh yeah. I'm trying to figure that too. Oh yeah, I just figured out. Here's the first, and it's got that type of vibe to it. And I feel like that might be the thing that at least maybe broadens it out a little bit more if people who wouldn't have played it end up playing it. Like if it ends up feeling that type of game. I do understand the made up language within the game might be a turnoff to some people, but I mean, it's no less like Elden Ring in the sense of there's no language. Like you just got to figure the ish out. That's just how it goes.
The first person I pulled up when I just look at it on Twitch is Need a Break from Elden Ring. That's literally the title of their video, and they're streaming Tunic.
Oh, yeah.
Which, interestingly enough, 5.2k viewers, which is twice as many as Halo Infinite has right now.
Well, here you say that, Anthony, like about, it being a collaborative effort of people like coming together. That also reminds me of Elden Ring, and like a big reason why that's buzzy all the time is because people are saying, oh, have y'all seen this one village of just jars that are walking around and they're friendly? And then you're like, oh man, I want to go see that. And then you like retweet it or quote tweet it, and then like there's a whole thing like with that. So I can see that being a big reason for it to get buzz too. So
yep.
Yeah, I don't want to undersell Tunic because it looks like a great game, and I'm pretty sure it is going to be big, but I don't know. At least
play
big.
The demo, man. It's
not got
the demo will get you hooked.
Yeah. Well, I just renewed Xbox Game Pass, so I'm probably gonna.
Oh, well, there you go.
Game Pass, bruh. Game Pass.
Yeah, man. That is the way to go. And I tweeted this out. I said, I will absolutely play Tunic, but I dread playing Elden Ring. Like, basically the same game, and like they're both so difficult. But yeah, I don't even want to touch Elden Ring, but I will go at Tunic. Absolutely. Maybe it's because of the Zelda vibe. I'm telling you, man, the Zelda part. I feel like that's You can't undersell that.
That's what Death's Door had going for it, the Zelda vibe.
Yeah, I hadn't played Death's Door. I wanted to play it before the year was over, but I didn't get the chance to. All right, let's get into our apples to apples segment and figure out what in the world we've been playing and try to gain some more points. Here is the current score total for all of us. David has 5 points. Noah is leading with a whopping 8 points, and I also have 5 points. So, David, we're going to try to go for a tiebreaker. Noah's going to try to extend his lead. So, let's start with Noah. Let's see one of us get some points. Noah, what have you been playing?
I just started playing today Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm going to do a whole playthrough, 1 through 3. I've played a little bit of each before, just like dabbled, and I've never beaten any of them. I've never like gotten to see the progression and like see those choices go through, so I'm really excited to do that.
Man.
I have not either, so
Yeah.
I'm going to live vicariously through you. David, hey man, I got a life, you know. These deep, long RPGs are hard to sink time into. What are your 3 words, David?
All right, I went with I'm Noah, and this is my favorite game on the Citadel. Masterpiece, and ROTY, which stands for Remaster of the Year, which is what we gave it in our awards last year.
We had a Remaster of the Year award?
Yep, Remaster Remake.
Oh. I feel like everybody should have that since there's so many of them.
There's so many of them, it was like, well, these deserve their own spot.
Yeah. My 3 words are, well, whatever. It's not even, we don't even do 3 words. We do 3 phrases. That ending, though, legendary choices and current gen goodness. Noah, what are you going to choose?
I think I'm going to go... I like the joke, I'm Noah, and this is my favorite game on Citadel, but I think I'm going to go legendary choices because BioWare, when they're on, their choices are so legendary. Even in Mass Effect 1, where you're driving around in the Mako doing the worst type of open world exploration, where you have a map pulled up and you're just going from point to point, and it's like a sparse, there's nothing on the map at all.
You didn't have to deal with it with balloon wheels.
Oh, true, but it's still very bad. The Mako is still very bad.
Oh, it's still jank. It's just not as jank.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you can go.
Oh, I just figured since we're talking about Mass Effect, I wanted to throw a quick story in because I pre-ordered the second one and had never finished the first one because I got stuck at a boss, just couldn't get through him. I just didn't understand the game as well. So I ended up having a sick day that I took from work, and it was one of those, I'm definitely too sick to go in, but I'm not sick enough to not play games in bed. So I played Mass Effect all day. Ended up backtracking all the way from the boss. And it's laborious to do that in the original Mass Effect. All the way from the boss outside, went back to other planets and tracked down the other boss on the in one of the other storylines, beat that, got all that stuff done, then went back and ended up frying the other boss because I was so high leveled that it was just easy, and ended up beating the game, became one of my favorite series. Tried to play through the first one most of the way. I wanted to reach level 50 so I could import it in with a higher level cap. I got home with Mass Effect 2 at like 1 a.m. in the morning, I believe, after the midnight release. Did not realize you had to finish your playthrough for it to transfer. So it was only going to transfer my save or finishing the first playthrough, not the second one. Thankfully, I was pretty close to done. I ended up taking 2 hours burning through the first game. And then I jumped in at 3 a.m. in the morning. I jumped into Mass Effect 2.
Wow.
Finally important. Only got an hour. I would have had like 3 hours, but yeah, that's my funny Mass Effect story. Still one of my favorite game series.
Dedication.
Yeah, but just talking about the choices really quick. So like, I don't know, going to a place where like biotic people have like taken over because they are revolting against the establishment that doesn't really care about the stuff that they go through, and then like making the decision to somehow defuse the situation and being able to not kill the guy who's holding the guy hostage and like defuse that situation perfectly is so good. It also makes me realize that like, oh man, like maybe things shouldn't be tied to like skill checks all the time, because why isn't there an option for me to just like say something that doesn't require that much charisma but might convince him to, not kill the dude. But that's okay. I mean, it's like an older game, but I do feel like that is a design flaw of like these types of games, where there needs to be another option in the future that isn't like tied necessarily to skill checks.
Screw you! You weren't nice enough to that guy 5 minutes ago. You don't have the amount of points you need to say something that'll save this other guy's life.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell you what I've been playing. I have been playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. Noah, what are your 3 words for me?
Pokemon Legends Arc. I mean RC. I mean, the new Pokemon game, and then an engaging Pokedex, and then where are my gyms at?
No, David.
I went with grainy grinding, fire type Pokemon for life, fire type for life, and fun, because it's just fun to play Pokemon games.
Says the one who doesn't play that many Pokemon games.
They're fun when I play them. It just lasts for an hour.
I feel like you're being a little disingenuous there. Played for an hour, but it was a fun hour. Yeah. Can't wait to play for another hour of the next game. All right. Let's see. I am going to go with grainy grinding. I'm going to go with David's word, grainy grinding. Now, I haven't really gotten to the deep grind of Pokemon Legends yet. I haven't gotten that far in it. I'm probably an hour and a half, 2 hours in. I got busy with some other games, but I will get back to it. But I found it incredibly hard to stay in the game when I was playing it. It starts really, really slow. And they are throwing all kinds of basic tutorials at you.
Wow.
Like, I've played Pokemon before. This isn't that different. You don't have to micromanage my first hour of play. I get it. Pokemon games are generally geared towards children, and children do not pick up on things very well. However, at least give us the option to get through some stuff, because, man, I just didn't want to keep playing. Like, I'd play for like 30 minutes and I'm like, I can't. I can't listen to another conversation that's going to re-explain a little bit of capturing a Pokemon or doing another set thing or doing, here's crafting. Oh, that only took, that was real hard to explain, but I had to go through all this extra dialogue. Oh, the professor wants to say something that absolutely does nothing to move the story forward or explain anything to me. Great. Okay. Like, it's that typical over tutorializing of Japanese games use. And it is on thick with Pokemon Legends. So once I actually got to the open world stuff and was given a little bit more freedom, I was having a little bit more fun. I was like, okay, I think I like this. Hopefully I don't have any more tutorials to go through, though. David, what have you been playing?
So I've played a little bit of Elden Ring.
All right. My 3 words for you are 12 million bones. Tunic is coming. And swing a little faster, die a little harder.
My words are, you died, my day is ruined, and try jumping.
That's pretty good.
I like my day is ruined.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That pun got me. So
Yeah.
I've not played a lot of Elden Ring, and it's generally because there's just this tension. As soon as you load your save, you're just all of a sudden tense of something is going to kill me.
So true.
So it's just I'm running. I can't tell. There are multiple times in the like hour that I played this game the other day that I ran around, killed a bunch of dudes and stuff. I went to touch Grace and then quit. And then I'm like, oh, I want to play a little bit more. So I jumped back in, ran around, did the same kind of thing, went back to touch Grace. Like, I just don't want to do this anymore. So I quit. I jumped back in the third time. Because it was just so stressful. Just, I don't want to die and lose everything.
It's so true.
And for me, it's really tough with a game like Elden Ring because they've incorporated this open world and it's beautiful. They've done a great job with this game. I recognize that from a reviewer type standpoint of what they've done here is incredible. But I am the last person, honestly, that enjoys this because A, I hate dying, and B, I like some structure. Like, I need a little bit more of go from point A to point B, and that's where something like Horizon resonates a lot more with me because a lot of times I can outskill something or just pull out the, hey, this dino's weaker to this, as well as, okay, there's a main path that I am supposed to follow. I can go and explore, do what I want, but I know that that main path is there when I want to proceed on, and that main path just doesn't feel there in Elden Ring, or it's at least it's overgrown.
Yeah, I hate it when people bring up, oh man, I love Elden Ring because it doesn't hold my hand. I'm like, the hand holding stuff is not because we're babies, it's because it's a preference. Yep. I don't like getting lost. I like to go where I want to go when I want to go to it. It's my problem with Breath of the Wild. It's why I didn't complete that game. It's too open. I want to get to the next section. I don't know how to get to, like, I know what to do. I know what to look for. I don't know where to go look for it, and I just want to go there and do it because I want to progress the story. I want to get involved with that part a little bit more. And I know Zelda's not always been known for its story, but you know, like I just want to get a little deeper into it. I want to experience more of the stuff, not necessarily get lost. So I want to choose where if I just want to run around and do that because I want to, cool. Not because I'm lost and I don't know where to go. That's frustrating.
Or because the stupid boss is so hard that I have to run around and grind and kill a bunch of low levels just to get high enough to beat him.
Like I'm okay with that personally, but I still got to the boss that I wanted to get to when I wanted to get to it. You know, like if that were a factor in Elden Ring.
I will say that in Elden Ring, especially, and not in other Dark Souls games, but you know they didn't have this problem as much because they weren't open world. Like the Grace, the Golden Trail, usually leads you to that next point, and it can act like like the quest marker on your map, in a way, because that problem I was having that I mentioned before this, about like I didn't know where to go. If I just followed that golden line through a building or two or whatever, but like in that general direction, if I just went that way, I would have gotten it. I would have figured it out. But I was so if you just follow that line, I think for the most part you'll find the critical path. And I like that it gives you the option, not to, and it doesn't tell you this is the most important thing in your life right now. And it gives you the freedom to like, let's go see what's in that cave over there. And I think that's cool. Because honestly, I didn't even go to Stormvale, which I think is where you're about to be, until like probably like 4 or 5 hours into the game, because I was just exploring too much, or not too much, but
Yeah, but the idea of like, because let's take Ubisoft games where, it tells you like, go here next. Like you don't have the agency to not go there. Like that's how people perceive it. It's like, oh, they told you exactly where to go, so you have to go there. It's like, no, I don't. I can go do other stuff if I want to. But.
And that's the Twitter discourse that's on it essentially. Just like the Twitter discourse that's making fun of. I hear it from
like relatively smart people, and I'm like, where are you getting this from?
Well, it's the same people half the time that are making the jokes about the Ubisoft, the UX we talked about in the last episode, where
I mean, it is cluttery.
It's cluttery, but they've done a lot of turning it off. So that's where it's like, I have the option to turn things off. So the openness, I think it's, once again, beautiful world, but something like Bloodborne appeals more to me in that area because it's still more linear. So I end up in the right direction more times than none because there's not a lot of other directions to go. So it does force kind of the grind in this area and move on to the next kind of idea.
And it saves time if, if somebody like myself, I got a child and a wife, like my time is precious. So if I could just get to where I want to go so I can experience what I want to experience, that would be fantastic. But knowing that there's those golden trails, it's a little more appealing now because a general direction, I can deal with that.
Yep.
Go here's the general direction. Doesn't like directly lead me to it. I'm fine with that. I can deal with that. But to your point, Noah, you, David, about the difficulty. I was watching Stella Chung from IGN stream this game, and she's just rolling around doing stuff, and all of a sudden these birds with scythes on their feet just come out of nowhere, and I'm like, what is this game? Like,
I hate those things.
Those things literally just popped out of nowhere.
I don't know that I've ever seen a game cheese you more than Elden Ring does. Like, you gonna cheese this boss, we're gonna cheese you.
This is the classic, like, old school platformer where you're just rolling along and something just pops on the screen that you had no idea was coming. Like, that's what that was. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this game wants you to die. And it is absolutely entertaining to watch, for sure. Like, I will watch somebody play Elden Ring all day, but me playing it, I don't know. Oh, that's how good this game is. We keep talking about it.
Yep.
And I don't even want to play it, and I'm still talking about it. All right, David, what are you working on?
Well, just finished the keyboard review we talked about in the last episode, so that is up on gamingtrend.com. Great little mechanical keyboard. Highly suggest it. Moving on from that into working on a Simpsons arcade cabinet that Arcade 1-Up sent us. Very, very excited to assemble that, get up some video on that, show that sucker off, because Simpsons arcade games, one of my favorites. I remember being in an airport when I discovered that. We were waiting for somebody, went over into the arcade area of the airport, and I was there for 2 hours. Nice. We waited for a plane to come in and just playing away. It was awesome.
I don't know if you guys were alive or aware of Aladdin's Castle back in the day, but man, that was the game. Ninja Turtles 2 and The Simpsons. Those two right there. Those beat 'em ups.
Mm-hmm.
Noah, what are you working on?
I'm not working on anything writing wise right now. I am streaming Mass Effect on my Twitch channel, Vuvuzela21. But that's pretty much it for now.
All right, and I am working on something with Wonderlands. I'm not entirely sure what yet. I don't know if I'm reviewing the game or I'm doing guides. I will likely be doing guides regardless, but I could be reviewing the game. I don't know. We got 3 people on this game, so we haven't figured out who's actually going to review it. Y'all figure it out.
Just figure it out before embargo, please.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, either way, I'm writing notes, so I do that regardless. But that's all I can say about that. So that is what I'm working on. All right. That has been the Part-Timers Podcast. Appreciate you watching or listening. And we will see you next week. As long as I get the dang upload up. Deuces.